All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and work problem number 1. It says a cylinder below has a diameter of 4.5 centimeters and a height of 7 centimeters. The shaded part represents the base of the cylinder, which is closest to the lateral surface area of the cylinder. So now that I know that I'm looking for the lateral surface area on my cylinder, I can go to my formula chart and I can go to surface area. And when I go over to cylinder and lateral, I can see that I'm going to use S equals 2 pi RH. All right. So I see that I need my R, which is radius, and my H, which is height. And my picture and my problem give me my diameter. I need the radius. And remember that your radius is half of your diameter. So instead of 4.5 or 4.5, I need half of that. So I can divide it by 2, and that will give me 2.25 for my radius. Okay, and then looking at my picture, my height of my cylinder, or that distance between my two bases, is 7. So I'm going to do S equals 2 times pi. For my R, I'm going to plug in 2.25. And for my height, I'm going to plug in 7. And when I go ahead and type that into my calculator, 2 pi times 2.25 times 7, and I click enter, I get 98.96. So if I look at my answer choices here, it does say which is closest. So if I rounded this, I would get 99 centimeters, right? So now I'm going to look at problem number 2. It says the base of a triangular prism is shaded. Which equation can be used to find S, the total surface area of the prism? All right, so this helps me out not just with a picture, but by going to my formula chart, it's telling me total and it's telling me prism. So surface area, total, prism, I should be looking for S equals capital PH plus 2 capital B. All right. Now, we need to remember that our P stands for perimeter of the base, okay? It tells me that the base is shaded, and I know that perimeter is when I add up all the sides. So 6, 8, and then this side here, which would line up with 10 centimeters here. So to get my perimeter, I would do 6 plus 10 plus 8. And then we've talked about height being the distance between our two bases. So from this triangle to this one up here, my height is going to be 5. And then for my B, we talked about this with volume and also with surface area. B is when we take the area of the base. All right. Now, our base shape is a triangle, so I'm going to be doing area of a triangle formula. So area triangle, A equals 1/2 BH, 1/2 BH. And we need to remember that on our base shape, that base and that height make a right angle. So if my right angle is here, that means on this bottom triangle, it's going to be there. And that's touching the side with the number 6 and the side with the number 8. So 1/2 times 6 times 8. All right, so when I look at my answer choices, it's all the numbers that I see in the problem. It does not actually type the perimeter in a calculator and get one number. So I'm going to plug into my formula by what I have. So S equals P, we said to get perimeter, we're going to do 6 plus 10 plus 8. And I'm going to multiply that by my H, which is my height, plus 2 times, we said big B is going to be 1/2 times 6 times 8. So now I just need to look at my answer choices and see which one matches up exactly with what we wrote down here, up here. All right. So automatically I can mark out this first one because nowhere on there does it do my perimeter. All right. When I look at my second one, my B answer choice, it does do my perimeter, my 6 plus 10 plus 8, but it doesn't multiply by 5. So I can mark that one out. Here on this bottom one, C, I see the 6 plus 8 plus 10. They're just in a different order, but I'm adding, so that's okay. Times 5 plus 2 times 1/2 times 6 times 8. So that one looks like it's going to be my answer. But let's go ahead and check the last one. And this says for perimeter to do 6 plus 8 plus 5. 6 plus 8, but 5 is my height. So I'm not going to be using that one, and you should have picked C for problem number 2. All right. So now we're going to work number 3. And number 3 says a rectangular prism is shown. What is the total surface area of the prism? All right. All right, so I'm finding the total surface area, and it is a prism. It's a rectangular prism. It tells me that in my problem. So when I look at my formula chart, I go to surface area, prism, and it wants total. So I'm going to use S equals pH plus 2B. S equals pH plus 2B. All right. We know that P stands for perimeter of the base, and it's telling me that the shaded rectangle is my base. So my perimeter would be 14 plus, this side is also 14, plus 1.5, but I need to turn that into a decimal for my calculator, so 1.5 plus 1.5. And when I do that, 14 plus 14 plus 1.5 plus 1.5, I get 31 as my perimeter. And then my H, that's my height of my 3D figure, or that distance between the two rectangles, which is 4.5 or 4.5 when I turn it into a decimal. And then I need B, which is my area of the base. And on a rectangle, that's little b times little h. And that's going to be 14 times this other side, which is 1.5. So 14 times 1.5, and that gives me 21. Now that I have the numbers to plug in, P is 31 times H, which is 4.5, plus 2 times capital B, which is 21. All right. So when I type that into my calculator, 31 times 4.5 plus 2 times 21, I get 181.5. And when I look at my answer choices, that gives me the first one. All right. So now we're going to move on to number 4. And number 4 says, the base of a triangular prism is an equilateral triangle. Okay. Which is closest to the lateral surface area of the triangular prism? Well, if I think back to what equilateral triangle means, that means all sides are equal. Okay. And I want the lateral surface area, and it tells me prism. So on my formula chart, surface area, lateral prism, I'm going to use S equals PH. Okay, so I need my perimeter of my base shape, and it tells me that's going to be the triangle, the equilateral triangle. So if my picture shows me that one side is 7, and I know that all sides are equal, that means this side will be 7 and this side will be 7. So my perimeter is 7 plus 7 plus 7, or 7 times 3, which is 21. And then I know that my height is my distance between my two triangles. And so from this front triangle to the back triangle, that's going to be 4.5. But I'm going to turn that into a decimal for my calculator, and I'm going to do 4.5. So S equals 21 times 4.5. All right, so when I type that into my calculator, 21 times 4.5, I'm going to get 94.5. So when I look at my answer choices, I should have chose this last answer choice. Okay. So now we have one more question, question number 5. And it says, which is closest to the lateral surface area of the cylinder shown? Okay. So I am going to need my formula chart again. Surface area, lateral, and my shape is a cylinder. So S equals 2 pi RH. Okay. That means I'm going to need my radius. And on this cylinder, I have my diameter. And I know that radius is only halfway across. So to get my radius, I'm going to take 4.82 and divide that by 2. 4.82, which is my diameter. I'm going to divide it by 2, and I'll get 2.41 as my radius. Okay, and then my height would be my distance between my two circles. Here's one circle, that's my base. I know I have another one here, and that distance between those two circles is right here, which is 10.3. So S equals 2 times pi times 2.41 times 10.3. And when I get my calculator and I type it all in, 2.41 times 10.3, I get 155.968, which tells me I would round. That 8 tells me to round up. So I should get 155.97, and that matches here with answer choice C.